Sup shitters, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Interviews where today for the 37th installment, 37th episode, I have the pleasure of chatting to a musician named Josh Lukowski from a band, should I say, Dead Reflections? Dead Reflections. And if we switch over to here, we have the man on the screen. Feel free to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Josh Lukowski from the band Dead Reflections from Massachusetts, out of the United States.
Okay, and like, what is your band about? What do you guys do?
We play really heavy, aggressive music, but I think deep down inside we're all just really positive people. So it's heavier music, but it's got positive sides. They're more like in-depth thought with lyrics than just we're not tough guys, I guess.
You're not tough guys. Well, your music is ferocious because just for anyone watching this who was interested after the interview, these guys have got stuff out on like Bandcamp and everything. And you guys have also got an EP coming out soon, don't you? Or has it already come out? Was it January the 2nd or something like that?
It came out yesterday, on all the streaming platforms and physical copies and all that,
Because, I mean, that's what we're here to talk about today, like the journey that you've had since 2020 to get that done. Why was that a journey, by the way?
So we started kind of pre-production, I would say, somewhere around 2019, the beginning of 2019. And it was going really well. We started locking in some studio time. We were actually going to travel out to Pennsylvania to start recording what at that time was going to be a full length. And then the world kind of just shut down. And obviously with Corona and everything. And we were going to still try to figure out a way to get out there and make it happen. And it just didn't happen. We couldn't get hotel rooms and all that other stuff. So we kind of scrapped that. Looking back at it in hindsight, I'm glad we did. I don't think it would have been that great. It wouldn't have come out as well as the EP that just got released yesterday. Trials came out. So we had all that going for us. Then we had a member change. So that was a huge part. And we also had to work on ourselves. Some of us had some personal issues that just went down, and we had to get ourselves back on the straight and narrow. And it all worked out. So it took a little bit longer, but Trials is definitely, we're definitely proud of it,
And how do you think the journey that you guys had changed the music from the beginning when you started to the point of release?
Going back to listen to pre-production and some of what we thought was amazing and what we were really just going to go in and record it as, it's garbage. It's the way the songs have shifted. The way the songs have shifted, and we've reworked them, and just the production quality. We landed in with Jim Fogarty, who produced for Killswitch Engage, for All That Remains, named some big bands that he's worked with. He just took us to a whole different level, and it just sounds, in my opinion, it sounds the best I think we could have possibly done.
Yeah, no, you guys aren't messing around if you're getting in touch with people who have worked with bands like Killswitch Engage, because you're also going on tour with like members, like bands that had like members from like Shadows Fall and stuff like that, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's pretty wild.
So we got invited. It blows my mind, but we got invited onto the God Forbid reunion date here in Massachusetts. So we're playing with God Forbid, which I think they've played live in about 10 years, and they just played their first show back in 10 years. And they have Bleeding Through also opening. And then they have a band, Living Wreckage, which is from the same area we're from, that has Matt and John from Shadows Fall. And John also plays for Anthrax too. So yeah, it's a big show for us.
How did you, were you guys always just good at networking, or was it a learning process, or?
Yeah, I definitely think it was a learning process. We played quite a bit of small shows, and just talked to as many people as we could, and we had a couple demos that I'm glad we handed out for free, but I wish we hadn't. They're just not that good. But yeah, we just kind of kept getting on some bigger and bigger shows, and just recently in the past year, we've been getting invited onto a lot of really cool stuff. So when that show, we have an agent, Mike from Budokan Productions, and when he reached out and said, "Hey, like we got this opportunity," it like blew my mind. Like I definitely never would have thought it would happen this quickly in the past year for us to get onto a show like that.
Because like, are the other members of your band like as familiar with these acts as you are? Like, what's the background of the other members of your band? Because you guys are like a 4-piece, eh?
Yeah, we're a 4-piece. Yeah, I mean, we've all just been from local bands in this area. Nothing over the top. Dan and I, the guitar player, have been playing together in 2 different variations of a band for, I don't know, probably about 8 years now. And then he had this idea for what became Dead Reflections. He reached out and was like, "Hey, let's put this together." He wrote everything and showed it to me, and I started working on vocals, and then we ended up getting Tanya. She was in a band called Sanity is Chaos at the time, and she joined in as the bass player and backing vocals. And then Joey, the new drummer, he just joined us about a year ago, right before the world started opening up and we could play shows again. He joined in, kind of saved the day for us so we could keep playing shows. But he's in a band currently as well called Ultra Dead, and yeah, he ended up just being a fill-in, and now he's a permanent.
That's wild, man. I mean, it sounds like you got a great team of people to work with. Did it take a while to build that chemistry there, even if some of you had been playing with some people? Like, I mean, what was it like to side like with the songwriting and all that?
Yeah, the songwriting for the most part was Dan. Dan, our guitar player, kind of wrote everything, and the way he thinks and then can write, it's amazing what he has for that talent. And it's just yeah, he pretty much wrote a good majority of it and then brought it to us. But he's still very open to us tweaking and changing stuff and kind of, bringing in our own parts to it and just morphing it. But yeah, it took a while. We had, like I said, we went through some member changes, so it was kind of crazy because I think we jumped out and started playing a lot of shows really quick. And then through the shows, we're like, so and so's not working out, or they're just not into it or whatever. But we went at one time, there was 6 of us, and now we're down to a 4-piece, and we get along great. It's really like a family atmosphere. It's funny how things are progressing positive for the band, but when we get in a room, it's a great time. Every time we get together for practice or shows, we just have so much fun doing it, and being around each other. So, which is a good thing.
oh, definitely. I mean, like with metal, like I grew up with metal and I love it to pieces. And a lot of bands you've talked about, I've listened to personally. How do you explain metal and the positivity and the kind of enthusiasm for it in a way that like makes sense to people who kind of see it as kind of scary? How do you explain metal to people who aren't used to it?
It's very hard. I mean, for 20 plus years I've been trying to explain this, and people look at you and it's nuts. I have young kids, and they listen to the pop stations, and I listen to some of those lyrics, and I'm like, how are they allowed to say some of this stuff on radio, right? But and there's soccer moms that are dancing in the minivan to these songs with their kids in the car, but they won't take the time to maybe they can't understand the lyrics, but read the lyrics and actually see that there's heart behind. Most every band writes lyrics from the heart or an actual emotion, and it's not all it's not about killing everybody. Well, I mean, some bands are, and that's cool, but it's not all about that. It's very hard to explain it to people.
But like, I guess in that regard, you do seem to have a bit of a following, especially with all these live shows you're doing, right? I mean, in an age of like bedroom musicians and people recording from home, which to be fair with COVID, when you couldn't gig, what else can you really do apart from record? But how important is it for a band, especially within like rock and metal genre, to go do live shows? How important is that in this day and age?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, it's the way... on a business side of it, it's how you're making your living now. because people don't really buy physical copies of albums. So in streams, you don't make a whole lot of money off of. So playing live is a huge part of being financially successful, which we're not there yet, but it doesn't matter, I guess. But it's also, people are going out to have a good time, and you're the entertainment. And if you're loving what you do, it's awesome. I love playing shows. I look forward more to playing shows than recording or even band practice and stuff like that. But I love the energy that you see, like, from the crowd and everything like that. It's just such a huge dynamic feeling to know that you had an idea, a group of you had an idea, and you could put it out there, people take it and they just love it, you know, or they hate it or whatever, but at least that they're having a good time. They're there for a reason, you know. I said they hate it because there's some people that do it, but for the most part, you can see people having a fun time.
Well, I mean, like, at least with metal, you kind of know what you're getting into. Like, even if there's a lot of different subgenres, right? It's at least, right. You know, it's not like pop music where, you know, it's cool if you like it, but pop music, it's just like a melting pot of literally hundreds of subgenres at this point. If someone says we're going to a pop show, you know, it could be anything, really. It could, because there's even like bands. Could be. Like, how do you feel about bands like Baby Metal and stuff like that who have managed to get like the kind of pop elements and stuff like that into a lot of metal stuff?
I think it's all right. It's pretty cool. I mean, yeah, it's definitely it's their form of the art, and yeah, I mean, it's cool. I like a lot of different variations of metal. I really don't know how to explain it, I guess. I just lost my words.
It's okay because like it could be difficult to talk about some metal bands even with metal bands, because it's like,
yeah, that's true.
They're not metal enough. They aren't what metal needs to be, etc. But you know, you guys seem really down to earth, and even though after listening to your music, there isn't, like, you guys are predominantly the growly vocals, aren't you?
Yeah, for sure.
How do you develop that technique?
It took a while. I think back when I was like in high school, so this is probably 25 years ago, I was in old school style hardcore bands where it was more just like a louder talking, screaming. And it just, throughout the years, I just kind of figured it out and started using my diaphragm instead of my throat, and watched a couple how-to videos and things like that, and started figuring out, like, oh, wait a second, I've been doing this all wrong for a long time. And this is how I can do it, you know, for a longer period of time and still hold a conversation afterward. Yeah, it took some time, you know, it really did. But it's funny because we'll play a lot of these shows, you know, and I go up there and, like you're saying, it's more like the growly metal, but we play with bands that have tons of clean singing, and we've played with tons of rock metal bands as well, you know. For instance, Flaw, they're a new metal band, I guess, from in the early 2000s. We played shows with Flaw. We played with Saliva at one time. We played with Islander. So we can get onto these other, you know, we can get onto, like we're talking about, variations of metal, and still kind of keep a crowd interested, I guess. But it's, yeah, I don't know. I guess that's the style I can sing in.
And that's cool, don't get me wrong, like, it sounds dope. Like, yeah. I was listening to you and you had great technique, and I was like, thank you, this guy is going to keep his voice.
Thank you.
Because like, I was about to ask what your influences were and stuff like that, but I'm also like, how important is it to learn vocal technique as a singer within the genre? Because there's some people who just say, no, it's more brutal if you don't learn that. How important is it to take care of your voice like that?
I think it's huge. I think it's massive. I mean, if you want to do it for a longevity career, and just not just for the band, but I mean, you're going to end up destroying your vocal cords and everything else, and having unnecessary operations and everything else just to be able to talk normal. And yeah, I mean, you got to take care of yourself. The vocalist is their own instrument. You know what I mean? That's why I don't help the band carry any gear at shows. I have to take care of myself.
Only
You know
the
what I
drummer
mean?
is strong enough to carry the drum kit in.
Exactly. I don't want to strain myself and hurt myself. You know, come on. No, but yeah, no, it's very important. Just like anything else, you got to take care of yourself. And if your vocals is what you do in the band, I mean, guitar players change their strings. You know, take care of your vocals.
Do you have any fun stories of like favorite gigs you've done?
No, we've played tons of different styles of shows, and we're not big partiers. We're kind of, it's funny, like we get up there and we can jump around. I can talk to a crowd and stuff, but I still get very, I get anxiety like after we're done playing, like going out and waiting by the merch table, and if people want to talk, I get very like, yeah, it was funny. When I used to drink, it was so much easier, and I'd have all these conversations with people and talk and all this other stuff. And the next day, not remember what I talked to people about or anything like that. And now that I don't drink, I have a great time. I have a better time playing the shows, and I feel like we're playing better. But I have such a hard time like talking with people afterward or interacting even with other bands, especially a lot of these bands that we're starting to play shows with. Like I looked up to God Forbid, I looked up to Bleeding Through, the guys from Chalice Fall. We're in the same town, so when they were coming up back in the early, late 90s, early 2000s, I was a young kid going to see them. So I still like, you know what I mean? So to this day, like, yeah, it's cool that we're getting to play the show with them, but I see them and I'm like, oh my God, there they are. And I get like, so I have no cool stories of like, oh, we were chugging beers by the van. No.
But like, it's so nice to hear someone who's just humble, man.
Thank you.
Like you hear stories from musicians and like they're either making stuff up or they're like, oh, they're bragging, right? But it's just cool to be chatting to someone who's like, nah, man, I feel a little bit vulnerable. Because that's a natural thing,
absolutely.
Like even if you're a performer, it's natural to feel a little bit anxious, right?
Of course. And like I said, we're still so, I'm still so mind blown by the things that have taken place in the past year. And like, knowing like yesterday when the album went live on all the streaming platforms, the EP, I keep calling it out, it's an EP. But when it went live, it's like I'm like mind blown to it. Like, wow, anybody in the world can get this now, and it's like we're getting these, like I said, these show offers, and it's still like it to me, it's like it like blows my mind that we're on these shows. It's awesome, and I'm so pumped for it. But at the same time, I'm like, how? How did we get here?
Well, I mean, to be fair, it's taken a couple of years, but like,
yeah.
What has been the reaction so far to your baby being put on the internet?
I mean, it's only been about 30 hours. We've gotten a few comments, here and there, a few messages saying like people are enjoying it, but we don't really know the numbers yet. We don't really know like who's actually listened to it or just saying they've checked it out or whatever. I'm hoping everybody at least gives it one listen. But yeah, so far it's going pretty well. I guess. I guess as numbers start coming in, we'll see how good it really is doing.
Because like I've been thinking, if you're doing gigs, I assume that you're probably going to be using the EP as your set list. Like, what were you?
Yeah.
What were your set lists before like? If you've just released that EP and you've had a couple of tracks out.
I'm sorry, what was that?
So you know how like you were doing gigs before, like, and usually like,
Yeah.
I'm not sure what your set lists, the length of them were like. Were you playing like the main songs you had? Were you doing like covers or other things?
No, we were playing all our own songs, but for the most part, we've been always kind of one of the opening bands, so we'll get like 20 to 25 minutes, and that is. We actually do throw in. We do an immigrant song by Led Zeppelin. We do a version of that. We play it live. We didn't record it for the EP. Maybe someday we'll release it. But yeah, it's really just all the songs from the EP, and a couple songs that, like I said earlier, we were going to record a full length. So there was songs, a couple shows back that we were playing that ended up not on the EP. So yeah, everything now I guess is just from the EP. So hopefully people like them, and if they like the song, then they can buy the physical copy at the show or download it and have exactly what we played that night.
Yeah, so because like, how do you plan because there's a couple of questions I want to ask about like the distribution and release and stuff like that, if that's okay, obviously. How did you decide on the way you were selling the physical copies?
We finished up recording, I would probably say about 3 to 4 months back. We finished everything, and it was kind of just trying to figure out artwork and everything like that. And we were doing it, but we were kind of doing it, at our own pace. But as this show, the God forbid reunion show, we got the offer. We were like, no, we got to get it now. Like we got to, wrap this up and get it ready so we have it for that night. Because ultimately, if you're just going to play a show and you have nothing to sell or nothing to offer, then kind of what do you do? You're having fun, and people are going to be like, hey, it's awesome. I got to see them, but you want them to be able to go home and still enjoy you and keep the ball rolling, especially on that type of level of the show.
Absolutely.
So that kind of pushed us into getting the EP finished a lot faster. And then we got it done, and we were like, all right, so, we're talking about like release dates, like what should we do? And just kind of, I guess, the best way to start off the year, we ended 2022 we played awesome shows last year. We finished the recording, did all the artwork and stuff, and what a way to start the year by getting trials out, playing the God forbid show right after, and just, I guess, just feed off of that.
It's excellent. That's fantastic. Because what are your plans for 2023? Like after the tour, are you guys going to release more stuff? Or are you just going to focus on gigging? Or
yeah, we've actually been. Obviously, we're gonna keep playing shows. We're gonna be. We have a show like a week later in Connecticut, a smaller place called the Cellar. The Treadwell. It's an awesome venue. It only houses like, I think 100 people, 150 people. Small room, but we played there before. It's always been awesome. They treat bands amazing. And then we're gonna probably start writing again. These songs for the EP, give or take, they're about 3 to 4 years old for us. Gonna be new for everybody else. In some aspects, all of them, I guess, are new because we did after pre-production go in. The producer changed some stuff or whatever, so it's cool. But yeah, no, we've already been talking about starting to write again, and maybe we'll just start releasing some singles here and there, just recording tracks and putting them out. And well, ultimately, I think by spring or so, we want to start looking at doing some touring and go from there, or just keep playing.
damn, because like, are you planning on like, would you go like cross states for that? Would you try and do as many shows as you can, or are you going to be sort of more specific about the places you go to?
I think we'll have to make sense. Right now, with the economy and gas prices and everything else too, it's going to be hard to try to go across the country or go out of the country. But if we can do like we're pretty close by to like New York, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, states like that are, I think the farthest point I mentioned is probably about 8 hours. So if we can just kind of do some weekend runs and maybe a week here and there, and just kind of see where it takes us. I think starting off smaller market, I guess, and just doing that would be, I think, the way we're going to look at it and try to shoot for that.
That's dope, man. I think a big question I've been wanting to kind of seg into, but I haven't, because I'm just going to clumsily do it. I wanted to talk about the themes that your EP was actually about. Because I've talked a lot about who you guys are as people. What is that? What is the EP about? Is it like different themes or like a consistent sort of theme across?
No, it's all kind of different ideas. I write lyrics more just at that time, like what I'm feeling or something I'm thinking about, or like something I see like in the media or whatever, that kind of just makes me like, what is this? And I write a little note to myself, or little notes, and I try to turn that into lyrics. There's a song about suicide on the album. I lost somebody really close. Obviously, I can't say close to me, but I lost my dad. So it's a song about like being in the, like, if I was depression itself, looking at it that way, it's like weird how your brain can just, fight you. You know what I mean? And sometimes it wins. And so I write lyrics. I wrote some lyrics about that, and just actually there's a song on the album called "The Wake," which was a dream I had, and it's just I was like trapped in it, and then I saw like water crashing and all this other stuff, and it just kind of pulled me in, but it ended up being like kind of a cool dream, and I just wrote lyrics about it. So yeah, it's more or less just like whatever I'm feeling at that time.
That's interesting, because you mentioned, what was it, Dan, that wrote a lot of the parts of the music.
Yeah.
So how do you balance out the needs of yourself as a lyricist with Dan's composition?
He's a very open guy. He kind of just writes stuff and goes like, whatever you dudes feel like, and like then we go in and we'll tweak it, and he'll tweak our tweaks and then we'll tweak some of his tweaks and go back and forth. And then he's always been very open about letting me just write the lyrics. You know what I mean? Like he's never jumped on me about any specific thoughts or ideas or styles or anything for lyrics. So he kind of just lets me a full range of it.
Hey, that's wonderful. I mean, like, how important is it to be authentic? And I know this is such a basic kind of question to ask, but in this day and age, I've been reviewing a lot of songs, and sometimes it just seems like people like mask when they do music, right? How important is it to be raw with this kind of music? Is it more important just be completely blunt, or is it more important to sort of put a bit of nuance into it?
I guess it's all in your own style. Like I do like a little nuance. Sometimes I like to get people. I like writing lyrics that people read them and think it means one thing. They're like, "Oh, that's cool. He's singing about this." And then if people ask me, and I'll be like, "That has nothing to do with the way I wrote it." You know what I mean? Like, I want when I write, I want people to. I want to write it because I want to write it. It's something I'm thinking or whatever. But at the same time, like, I want people to take it into their own direction too, and think that it's something. And if it helps them, then that's awesome. You know what I mean? Like, I like having a little bit of thought behind it, but it's an important thing as well to be blunt. And people have something to say, then it's awesome that they can do that. They can write something that they wholeheartedly put thought into, and they're upset about, or they're happy about, or whatever, and they want to be blunt about it. That is awesome. You know what I mean? Again, it's like we were talking about. There's radio metal, there's dad metal, there's 80s thrash metal, and there's so many different variations, and they're all in a way awesome. You know what I mean? So lyrics, I feel it should be kind of the same thing. Like, yeah, if you have if it's on your mind and it's on your heart or whatever, that's the way you want to write, then absolutely. But if you want to put a little mystery behind it too, then I like that part a little bit more. But yeah, I like that it's just kind of open playing field. That's
awesome, man. That's awesome. Do you think you'd do anything differently if you were to do an extended release at some point? Or?
Probably try to get it done quicker. I just want to keep the ball rolling. I really want the momentum to keep going. I don't want to wait a whole long time in between. Obviously, we want to play a lot more shows to push the EP and get it out there as far as we can, but I don't want to make people wait either. So I think the idea of maybe we'll record a cover song or something, or maybe we'll just write a single for now and put it out there in the meantime before we start really hammering down for a full length. But yeah, I want to stay active. I want to keep every aspect of the band moving. And if that means recording and playing at the same time, then I'd like to do that and just not have such lag times in between.
Damn, you're gonna have a busy 2023.
I hope so. I really hope so.
I mean, look, Josh, I wanna wish you the best of luck for the tour, as well as the continuation of your EP release.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So you mentioned that people can find it on major digital streaming platforms. Where can people find the physical copies?
The physical copies right now are through us. We are looking into an online distributor to get them out. But yeah, right now, if anybody wants them, they can find us through Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Just message us and we'll get albums out to you.
That's fantastic. And so I guess the final question I want to have today, because I know a lot of musicians who are younger, and they want to know what the future of music is like, but also they want advice from people like yourself who are succeeding at recording music and touring with bands like you are. You're doing really well. What advice would you give to upcoming metal bands about how to not necessarily find like success, because success is subjective, but how can they do well, and what decisions should they be making when they're starting out in order to find some modicum of success, whatever that may be?
So yeah, I've been playing in all variations, so many different variations of bands for 20 plus years. I'm 40. I'll be 41 in April. So, and right now I feel like I'm finally hitting some targets that I've been wanting to hit for all these years, you know? So definitely just keep going. Like, don't let things or objects or anything stand in the way of it. Just keep practicing, keep finding, people you can gel with, and just don't stop. But honestly, it's all in just finding the right people to play with, and it's all in just really pushing yourself and not getting there's going to be great shows and you play in front of 300 people, 500, 600, 700 people, and you go play the next show and it might be 6 people, but literally just rock it and have a great time and just keep going, keep trudging through it, and you'll find it. You know what I mean? Like it's just happening for us. It's like, holy cow! Like, I mean, I'm doing an interview with somebody in New Zealand right now. Like, hey, but it's cool. It's just keep going. That's the only thing you really can do with anything in life. Just go. Just keep going.
Dude, that's fantastic. Look, it's been a fantastic time chatting to you today, Josh. Is there anything else you want to tell people about your band before we head off for today?
No, I just want to say thank you guys for the support, and thank you for doing the interview. And Trials, it's our EP, Dead Reflections. Check it out, please. All streaming platforms: Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, Apple iTunes, the whole to do. So,
well, look, again, I know I said it before, best of luck for your tour. Congratulations on the latest release. And hopefully I get to see you guys succeed in future with your various musical endeavors.
Hopefully we'll come, hopefully we can get over there and play for you.
That would be fantastic. Hopefully the weather's nice when you get here, because it's been really turbulent lately. But yeah, also, Happy New Year, and I'll see you around.
Same to you. Sounds good, man. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a fantastic 2023. Now, normally I do my conclusion here for this interview, but I just want to show people the Dead Reflections Spotify page here. Please do go check out their music, Trials, their latest release. It's all here. I'll leave links in the description of this video as well. But just thank you very much for watching this interview today that I did with Josh Lukowski of Dead Reflections, Vocalist. It was wonderful to hear more about this band. I don't always get to interview musicians from metal bands, and I treasure it every time because, unreservedly, metal is one of my favorite genres. I find it to be one of the most authentic, sincere, engaging, massive styles of music that just honestly hits every button the right way, and these guys nail it. Like, again, I am saying this because I mean it. I think that they're on something, and I wish them the best of luck in future. So yeah, cheers for checking out this interview today with Josh Lukowski from Dead Reflections. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do check out their various social medias and their Spotify page, as well as their stuff on digital streaming platforms. And stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next interview. Spiderhands out.